Didn't they also ask you to drive up to New Hampshire
Yeah.
to ID a dead drop site?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked about that because that was an odd situation that I couldn't quite understand what it was about, but in hindsight, I think I know what it was. So again, that was my last visit to Moscow in 1986. And I meet a person who I'd never met before, and he asked me if I was willing to do something that would elevate my risk level. Never had a question like that. And of course, you think I'd say no? I said, sure, no problem. And so the task was to find a spot in New Hampshire for a dead drop, but it had to be a place where you could deposit something of a significant size, like a briefcase or a small suitcase. Okay, so I drove up to New Hampshire. I found a spot. I reported on it, and nothing ever happened. Now, in hindsight, I strongly believe that this was they considered me to be an intermediary between the Soviet embassy and Aldrich Ames, simply because Ames interacted with diplomats, and he was at a high risk there. Therefore, I nobody followed me. So if Ames shows up there and I show up there, it's like there's no red flag going on, and I can, and I'm well trained, and I know if I hand the material over to somebody, a Russian agent, and then then I know that I wasn't being followed, and they had ways of making sure that they are not being followed. And I have information from somebody who worked counterintelligence in New York in those days. They threw numbers at this thing. There were not enough FBI agents to cover every one of them. So they would all of a sudden, there would be like 20, 30 people going, and they would then figure out how to communicate with one another to have one free. That's why I asked this fellow that is a friend of mine, why why every dead drop operation in New York uh, worked, and we didn't have to uh, abandon one of them. And he told me it's just because of that, because of the numbers game. No, it was still considered high risk. So, but it worked like a charm. The FBI was undermanned.
And for people that don't remember, Aldrich Ames was one of the worst moles in CIA and American intelligence history.
He caused the execution of 4 assets. These were Russians that cooperated with the CIA. I'm just reading the book Spy Handler by Cherkasin. He was the guy who recruited Ames. And whatever what is ever in his memoir is like it's from the horse's mouth.
I think I might have to read that one after this. But what do you think that, so if that was a dead drop site for Aldrich Ames, what do you think it may have been for?
Well, he smuggled printed material out of his office. He was uh, in charge of the anti-Soviet division of the CIA. He had access to everything, and that's why he caused so much damage. And the CIA was wondering, everything's failed. Everything failed, and even the agents under diplomatic cover, they there was nothing but failure. Why they took so long to understand that they had somebody on the inside. Eventually, Ames was betrayed by somebody who was a mole at the other end. uh, Amazing story. And as far as I'm concerned, he's still in jail today. I believe so.
Wow.
Very miserable and, mentally gone insane. Solitary confinement will do that to you.
Well, it's a nasty game. You want to live by the sword, you better be ready to die by it too. So,
And so, the fact that the only jail I've ever entered was a museum in Dublin, Ireland, to take a picture, and I'm staring out and looking through the like I'm playing prisoner. Thank God. And I would have survived for some time because I knew, like, being in Moscow for 2 years by myself. There's no social interaction. I got stuff to do. As long as they would have given me something to read or write, I would have been sort of okay with the hope. This is one thing about a prisoner. If you have hope, you can endure a lot. But I'm glad that I escaped that destiny.
what's up, guys? Thank you so much for taking the time to watch the interview. If you got anything out of this video at all, please like the video, leave me a comment, tell me what you thought of the video, tell me who you'd like to see on the show. I really appreciate the support. It goes a long way on these platforms, as you guys know. Most importantly, I have some excellent interviews coming up in the future that I'm really, really excited about. So please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of them. But that's it. Thank you for your support. I really appreciate it, and hope to see you again soon.